All right, if we could call Public Service Committee to order. We have Samples, Holland, Lombardo, and McKittrick present. Can I get a motion for approval of our previous meeting minutes?
I'll make the motion for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We have quite a bit in front of us today, so I'm going to read really fast. Okay, first piece, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Hampton Ridge Drive between the western termini of Smith Road and the eastern termini of Smith Road by paving, grading, constructing and reconstructing curbs and driveway approaches, all together with the necessary, apprentices, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. The next, I think there may be 12 or 13 pieces. These are all construction projects that have been finished in the last, over a year. All our construction projects, when they're finished, all the closeout items, once all the punch list items are done, and then after the 1-year warranty, then we do levy the special assessments, and that's what these pieces of legislations are for. Hampton Ridge, as you know, was a full improvement of the pavement up there. Carvo Construction did it. They finished late in 2018, and then there was the time where we had to go through all the punch list items and warranty type things. So obviously all these projects have gone through the Assessment Equalization Board. The owners of the property had time to go through, and all that's been passed. This is the final piece of legislation that will allow us to levy the assessments for these projects.
Okay. Do I have any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Councilman Mallett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say this project on Hampton Ridge I know was of great interest from the residents, and I think Carvo and the city did a great job, and I know there was some work, in the last few years to make sure that, everything was brought back in terms of the grass and sidewalks and everything. So really appreciate the work done by city staff on this project, and the new road looks great. And I hope we can do it with some of our other concrete streets.
All right. What's your pleasure, Mr. Lettle?
Consent's fine.
Okay. Could I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ayes have it. On to the next piece. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Masson Road between the termini of Triplet Boulevard and Pendleton Avenue by paving, grading, constructing, and reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks, driveways, approaches, storm sewers, sanitary sewers, water mains, installing roof, drain, pipes, and planting trees, all together with the necessary apprentices, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Basically, this is the same thing, the Maslin Road project over in Ellett, 3,600 feet of new pavement, new sidewalks. We did some storm work and sanitary work. So this again. This was done at the end of 16, but we had a lot of closeout items that we had to go through. So we are just now leveling the special assessments.
All righty. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Seeing none, what's your pleasure, Mr. Lettle?
Consent's fine.
Can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Next piece, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Forest Edge Drive, Aries Way, Carriage Hill Lane, Fox Trace Trail, Hill Hampton Trail, Timberline Trail, Bent Creek Trail, and Deer Ridge Run between certain termini by paving, grading, and resurfacing, all together the necessary apprentices, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This project was done mid-2019. This was a full-depth asphalt replacement of this neighborhood. I have to give engineering credit. It was a difficult project. People were out of their driveways, but Parent Asphalt was the contractor. It took a while to get done, but it turned out beautiful. And like I said, I think engineering did a great job managing this project, so.
Alrighty. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? And what would be your pleasure on this, Mr. Leto?
Consent's fine, thank you.
Can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Market Street between the termini of Westgate Circle and Portis Path, North Main Street between the termini of Olive Street, East Talmadge Avenue, and North High Street between the termini of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and East Market Street between resurfacing and declaring an emergency. Mr. Little?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of committee. This was an ODOT, since these are state routes, this was an ODOT resurfacing project. So they broke it up and all those segments that you mentioned. It was about 3 miles of resurfacing. So this will get our regular resurfacing assessment rate. But there again, this project's been done for a little over a year, this resurfacing. So with that, I would request consent agenda, please.
Okay, any questions from committee members? Any question from council members? All righty, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Number 7, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of West Emerling Avenue between the termini of Firestone Park and South Main Street by paving, grading, constructing, and reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks, and driveway approaches, and installing roof drain pipes, all together with the necessary apprentices, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Little?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this is about 500 feet of new full improvement. A lot of truck traffic goes off of West Emerling. We realigned the signal when we did this to line up a lot of concrete trucks. There's a couple businesses back there. APV, Akron Paint and Varnish, put on another addition. So this was to help them. But there again, this is just levying the assessments for this full improvement project.
All right.
And consent would be fine.
Okay. Questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Can I get a motion for consent?
I'll make a motion for consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Number 8, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Britton Road between the termini of Talmadge Avenue and Independence Avenue by constructing and reconstructing curbs and concrete sidewalks, all together with the necessary apprentices, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Little?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Up on Britton Road, between Talmadge Avenue and Independence, there was no sidewalks, or very few, on the east side there. So this project allowed us to put new sidewalks in, rebuild some of the curbs for pedestrian traffic, especially on that side. A few of the business, when they built, I think when they may have built that one little plaza up there with the plumbers and pipe fitters, I think they put a sidewalk in, but a lot of this stretch had no sidewalks. So this project, and this was driven by the residents and the people that live up there, that they wanted sidewalks. So this was a very successful project. And
So-
consent would be fine.
Will this be on both sides of the streets?
Well,
Because
the
there's
other
like a
side
high
had
rise
them.
over there.
The west side had sidewalks.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Got it. All righty, any questions from committee members? Mr. Lombardo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Little, when this project was going on, you know, doing the street is one thing with issue 4 money, but then would the sidewalks be included with issue 4 money?
No, this was a separate project, and the funding sources, I'm not sure if we got any other funding sources with this project, but we did, this wasn't run through the straight sidewalk program, since it was such a big project.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question.
So, but, no, this was before issue 4, actually.
All righty, any other questions, Mr. Lombardo?
No,
You sure?
that's it.
All right. Any questions from council members? Uh-oh.
Amber Alert.
Amber Alert. Okay, number 9, ordinance levying
Madam Chair,
special...
there's not a vote on that
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry, I got the... Oh, gosh.
Everybody.
Everybody. Can I get a motion for consent?
I'll make a motion for consent.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All righty. Number 9, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of Canton Road between the termini of Wedgewood Drive and the southern corporate limit and between the termini of East Market and State Route 76 by resurfacing and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of committee. This was another ODOT resurfacing project. So out there in Ellet, in these segments you identified, this project has been done for a little over a year, and it's time to levy the assessments to the abutting property owners. So consent would be fine.
All righty. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Seeing none, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
A motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 10, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of State Route 91 between the termini of Interstate 76 and the northern corporate limit between the termini of East Market Street and Wedgewood Drive and by resurfacing and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of committee. Another ODOT resurfacing project out there in Ellet, basically from the northernmost limit all the way down through. They skipped a section that was in the previous piece of legislation, and then they picked it up with the resurfacing of Canton Road or Darrow Road, however you want to state it out there. So.
All righty. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Seeing none, can I get a motion for consent?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between the certain termini 2020 Phase 1 arterial collector program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402/404 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. This is from last year's resurfacing project. This was issue 4, Councilman Lombardo. This was the arterial collector section. Now, as you know, we pulled back a little bit because of COVID, so the second half is being completed right now, so those assessments won't come in till next year. But this was the resurfacing portion of the project that was completed last year.
All righty. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? What will be your pleasure, Mr. Lettle?
Consent's fine.
Consent's fine. Can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini 2020 Phase 1 residential resurfacing program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402/404 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. This is the residential portion of the resurfacing program that was completed last year, and consent would be fine.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? What will be your pleasure, Mr. Lettle?
Consent would be fine, thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Number 13, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini 2020 Phase 1 unimproved street resurfacing program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. This is our annual street cleaning assessment to put on all the property owners. We had our hearing a couple weeks ago, and we had a few objections, but we went through the hearing. We did make a few changes to a few abutting property owners that weren't benefited, but there's no increase to these. It's the same. I don't think we've had a street cleaning assessment for probably 8 or 10 years, so there's no change in the assessment. The property owners won't see any change as they did last year or the previous year, so consent would be fine.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? Council members? Can I get a motion for consent?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 14, ordinance determining to proceed with 11 special assessments for the improvement of certain streets in the city between certain termini by providing street cleaning services and street lighting, approving the report of the Assessment Equalization Board and declaring an emergency. Mr. Little?
I think that was the explanation you meant to give for this one that you gave for the
What was
last
the-
one. Number 13 was the unimproved street
Unimproved.
resurfacing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Do we want to revote that then? I'm sorry.
You want me to reread number 14 or 13?
Well, 12, I gave the wrong explanation. 12, what we voted on was the unimproved streets. I gave the explanation for the street cleaning assessment for the unimproved streets.
Okay, so do you want me to go back to 12 and let him reread that in, or?
So actually 13 is the unimproved street, 12 was the residential resurfacing.
So 12 were okay.
Yeah, 12
Yeah,
was
so
good. 13,
13.
I think you gave the explanation for street cleaning, street lighting.
Do I need to
so
Okay.
re-explain it?
Yeah, re-explain. then.
Okay, unimproved streets, first of all, is just the resurfacing program from last year. And as you all know, unimproved streets are not curbed, there's no storm sewers, so there's a different assessment rate for unimproved streets. So,
Okay. We've already voted on this, so do I need to take a re-vote for that?
Should we do a revote since we were giving the explanation of
yeah,
the
why
street
don't we
cleaning?
re-vote?
Okay, so.
Consent's fine.
Okay, so consent on 13. Can I get a motion for consent on number 13?
Motion for consent.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, number 14. Ordinance determining to proceed with the levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets in the city between certain termini by providing street cleaning services and street lighting, approving the report of the Assessment Equalization Board and declaring an emergency.
And this is the one where we had no increase to our street cleaning assessment. So it's the same as it's been previously. And the street cleaning assessment is we had the hearing a few weeks ago. We had a few objections. We heard their objections. We granted a reduction in some of these property owners. But everything else is the same for everybody else throughout the city.
Okay, all righty. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Seeing none, what will be your pleasure, Mr. Little?
Consent would be fine.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Number 15, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to submit an application for, and if awarded, enter into an agreement with the United States Department of Transportation for the Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity RISE grant, the completion of North Main Street Complete Street Project and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. This legislation will allow us to enter this application through the RAISE, what is called the RAISE grant. We're asking for $17 million, almost $18 million. So I have Christine Junkie here if anybody has specific questions. This project is bridge to bridge, as we call it. It's from St. Thomas Hospital all the way north through North Hill up into the high level bridge. Okay, this project, we're looking to put a roundabout as you come into Akron from the falls right there on Howard Street, or on North Main, so we'd be able to tie Howard back in. As some of you know, when the county eliminated that bridge over that little section of Howard, you no longer could go north and you have to actually cut down either Cauga Falls Avenue or Iuka. We like people to do that, but some are cutting through the neighborhoods because there's no way to get from Howard all the way at the end on the main. So this also, with this roundabout, will allow to tie the other side, the east side of Main, which is Oakland Avenue and Riverside, right into Main Street. So as you go down through this project, it's pretty impressive. We've already got $4 million of federal money allocated to this project. OPWC, we feel like it will score very well. So this grant is, I don't want to say we're really shooting for the stars, but we've put together a heck of a project. Christine could add more to it, but it's all about safety. It's all about mobility. We have a lot of people in North Hill that walk and bike, so this will be protected bike lanes like you have downtown here. It will add for on-street seating for the businesses to, if they want to add out to the front of their businesses for outdoor seating or outdoor cafe, and we're hoping that attracts more businesses to North Hill. So this is a very, I think it's a great project. It's really going to make transformational to that neighborhood from Temple Square. That's a great streets area. That's going to put a lot of emphasis on North Hill and for the whole community. So what we're asking today is for your passage to allow us to enter this application, and if awarded, accept that application grant.
Okay, I have a couple questions. So this is just to submit the application. When does the application due? No pressure. Can you come to the mic so we can?
I apologize, I don't know how to, is it on already? Oh,
Yep.
nice. Even though the application is due today, we did want to get this in front of you as soon as possible. We actually already submitted the application, but the fact of the matter is we know if we come down here and if there's any controversy and if the legislation does not pass, we can always withdraw our application. But it's a very strong application. I'm very confident if we don't get the 18 million, we'll at least get a portion of that money. And we've already, like Chris stated, acquired some other federal grants. And this project will also score very well in our annual OPWC applications. They like to see applications like this where we're rebuilding the old instead of rebuilding new. So again, a strong application for a number of reasons. The safety factor, that stretch of North Main Street has a lot of pedestrian accidents, so we really need to address those. The older infrastructure, we like to keep things in better condition instead of just resurfacing constantly. Also, the Temple Square area that Chris mentioned, getting that area bolstered is an important goal for the city. So the project has a lot of things going for it, and that has made it a very strong application. And again, just I know it sounds very odd that we've already submitted this, but if there is any hesitancy from the council, we can always withdraw our application.
Okay. So we talk about the roundabout. Are we talking about where North Main and Cog Falls Avenue meet up right there? Or
No, we're talking
further down by State Road where they segue into
when
each
you
other?
come out of the falls, right into Akron.
So is Cog Falls sharing any of this cost with us? Just
Well-
checking, just right there on the line.
No, it's not, because we actually own part of that bridge we own. So
Okay.
it's actually, no, it's not in Cog Falls at all.
Okay.
Yep.
So on the source where it says STBG, what's that funding source?
Surface Transportation Block Grant. It's federal money.
Federal money, okay. That's a big chunk, okay. All righty. Okay, questions, Mr. Lombardo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ludlow, I'm familiar with the area, no doubt, but to get more specific, the roundabout would be around Bannock Street, in between Bannock and...
No, it's going to be all the way at the end, as soon as you come across the bridge.
Okay, so, all right, I'm no traffic engineer here, but I'm just thinking of people skating off the bridge there, because it is flat and, you know, coming from Cog Falls. Trust me, I've had a lot of complaints with speeding on North Main Street, and it's right at that area. So how would the traffic learn to slow down to go on that roundabout?
Well, I mean, it's going to be signed, obviously.
Yeah.
And you see this roundabout come, that's why
It
people, like, to your point, when they hit North Main, by the time they get to Bannock, they're doing 50 miles an hour.
Yes.
So we are going to narrow the pavement a little bit by adding the extra bike lane and so it's going to, because right now, if you go out to North Main, it looks like you can land a 747 out there. It's so wide.
Right.
It's not safe to cross. We have people trying to cross that street, and it's like, you know, it
Right.
seems like it takes you forever to walk across the street. So we're bringing in that pavement a little bit, because we don't have the traffic counts. We have a lot less traffic counts on North Main than we do Talmadge Avenue. So we're gonna narrow in the pavement, reduce the size, add the bike lane, add new sidewalks, add more cafe seating, but that roundabout will slow you down. Now, I understand what you're saying, but inherently, with the signage and everything, it's, any roundabout you come to now, it's a learning, you know, you're gonna have to learn, but they will slow down, believe me.
Well, I've learned a little bit with seeing some roundabouts where the way you approach a roundabout, that street has to be a little jog in it, so you're not like hitting the roundabout. So I guess I'm just concerned with, I mean, I like the project, but I guess I'm just concerned with traffic slowing down right on the bridge. Because you're saying that this roundabout is like right after the bridge.
It's
Right
right,
there.
just
Right there.
south of the bridge.
Diplomat Apartments, you know, all
Yep.
that. So,
See, they're talking about replacing that bridge eventually.
yes,
So the configuration of this bridge is gonna be a little bit shifted to the west to accommodate when they build the new bridge, it'll tie right into the roundabout.
I got you. And that roundabout, again, ties in the Howard
It'll tie
Street.
at Howard Street and Riverside,
Right,
which is Oakland section.
yes. So, a bigger roundabout than, what's the last roundabout?
Mill Street,
Yeah, I was gonna say Mill Street.
it'll be larger than that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, just, you know, again, I'm no traffic engineer, just concerned about the traffic and the speed and,
You're not thinking about when the high level was metal, we used to skate across it and wreck every time, because when it snowed nice, are you?
yeah. Yeah,
You're
All
showing your age here, Council.
I guess so. Thank you.
Chris, another quick question before I move to the next committee member. So will this roundabout be the chunk of the cost here? Is that where most of the resources will go into?
No, not at all. I mean, you're talking full improvement all the way through. There's a lot of pavement, there's some sewer work. So it's gonna basically, I mean, not to the extent of what you've seen on Main Street without that infrastructure, because we don't have all that first energy work.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we're gonna have extra conduits, so if fiber optic would ever come into the neighborhood, they're not gonna have to tear up the street again to put it in. So we will have the communication portion of this, it's to be the signalization, new signals, that type of thing.
So in order to do this, you'll be shutting down the bridge? How do people get over to the other side when you're doing this? Will the bridge have to be shut down at any point?
Well, they're gonna maintain traffic, but
Okay.
half the bridge may be shut down at a time.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense, okay. Any other questions from any committee members? Any questions from council members? Councilman Mallett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Little, what is the timeline if this was to be funded? When would the work be done?
Christine, when would we start?
It says 20, it just says 2020.
2024, we don't have an exact schedule yet. Once we have design underway, we will build that schedule a little stronger, but 2024, probably 2025.
And is any of the work on the Y Bridge?
I'm sorry?
Is any of the work on the bridge?
No.
Okay. And it wouldn't require closures of Main, like full closures? It would be partial closures?
We usually can get things done with partial closures, but again, once we get into the nitty-gritty of design, we'll determine that.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, that's a concern, you know, on the current part of Maine. Yeah, I guess the other comment that I would have is it is frustrating to hear that the application has already been submitted. You know, this is council's opportunity to weigh in, like Mr. Lombardo is weighing in and others are weighing in, and I'm sure we could pull it back, but, you know, I don't know why it couldn't have been brought, you know, several weeks ago so that these questions could have been answered before it was already, the thing we're authorizing has already been done. So, thank you.
Yep. Councilman Omobian?
I'm just curious, these turnabouts are usually put in because of speed, is that correct?
Well, it's also to help traffic keep moving. It's been proven that it helps the traveling public as far as the people walking. It makes it safer. It slows people down. It allows them to cross the street safer. and it keeps traffic moving, eliminates a signal. Now, there's no signal where we're talking about putting this, but just like at Mill Street there, it looks like August 1st that will be open all the way to Market. And you will see as you travel through there that there's no more signal. So it keeps the traffic moving, it slows people down, and allows the people, whether they're on a bike or they're walking, a safer path than a regular signal.
You know, I've never seen one close to the bridge. Is there an example of this somewhere?
I don't know.
Would you say they exist somewhere? I would imagine, but I've never seen one.
I'm Mike Tiadecki with the Bureau of Engineering, and I just wanted to address real quickly the roundabout also. The roundabout are something not new, they're very safe. And what we're doing with this proposed roundabout is we're working directly with the county engineer's office to make sure as they develop plans for the bridge, we're developing plans for our roadway so that both projects meet up so that they can both be built knowing each one's coming. So we're actually positioning the roundabout in a good area, not only to tie into the neighborhood, but you got to connect to what I'll call the old bridge, the one that's out there, but we're making space within the roundabout so the new bridge and the entryway can tie into the roundabout easily. So in the future, when they build the bridge, there'll be less disruption to traffic because we're giving them a space on the roundabout. We're making it large enough to make all those connections. So again, it has a whole bunch of factors in it. It's safe. It does provide chicanes coming in and out, which keeps traffic slowed down as you tie in the neighborhoods. And whether it's near a bridge or an extension of road, it doesn't really matter as a car. You're driving on a road that connects into the roundabout. So it's not touching the edge of the bridge. It's shifted south far enough so that we can work those transitions from the bridge safely into the roundabout and get you either onto Cuyahoga Street or onto Howard Street, onto Main Street, or the connection around to the east into North Hill area.
Yeah, well, thank you for your explanation. It just, you know, as a lay person, it just seems rather strange to have it there. But those are just my views. Thank you.
Mr. Lombardo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Without getting into much detail with the design of it, I just know that the land is no doubt uneven. I mean, you've got that pit, so to speak, by Diplomat Apartments and everything like that. So I'm sure the land would have to be...
The topography, yeah, we'll address all that.
Yeah.
We'll fill it in to make it all level.
Yeah.
One nice thing about this, we own all the land. So it's not like we have to go start acquiring land to put this in. So obviously this is a few years down the road, and to your point, Councilman, maybe the timing wasn't the best, but we kind of ran up against the design. We had to get it in. So we wanted to have some details worked out before we brought it to you. Unfortunately, we're about a week late getting here, or 2 weeks late. But we'll take note of that, and we will address all those concerns. We're still in the design phases of this thing, though. So, but this raise grant came up. We did get that other $4 or $5 million just recently, which was really, you know, beneficial to this project. So this would be, this right here would be almost half of the project. So this would be a huge, it's a huge ask. I know we're asking for a lot of the whole raise grant money, but if we were successful and get $5 million, that's 5 less that we have to go after. So we're trying to go after as much safety money as we can, and we feel like this project scores very well.
Got it. Any other questions from council or committee members? Seeing none, I know you need a suspension of the rule on this.
Please.
So if I could get a motion for suspension of the rules?
I'll make the motion for suspension of the rules.
You have a motion?
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Last piece, number 16, ordinance ratifying the actions of the Director of Public Service in contracting with the Liberta Construction Company for the emergency repairs of a segmental block sewer on Winton Avenue, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency. Mr. Ludlow?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. We had a sewer collapse recently This is on Winton Avenue, just north of Lawton. So we had a contractor come in, and some of you are familiar with Segmental block, but I always said it's like the Humpty Dumpty sewer, because it's all clay sheets. It's built in a circle, and one falls in, they all start falling in. And that's where we get the cave-ins. We had one out in Ellet last year, or 2 years ago, that Councilman Kittrick can attest to, out there in that canal, or that ditch line. So we hired a contractor. We had to drop two new manholes, some new 30-inch Hobos pipe, and to get this thing repaired. So with that, I will answer any questions.
All right. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? All righty, seeing none, what's your pleasure? Mr.
Consent's
Lowe?
fine.
Consent's fine. Can I get a motion for consent?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. And seeing we have nothing else coming before us, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you can have my list. Here, it's on, it's right here.
How'd you get yours bottle? I just want to know how you got that wider. Mine feels so tight. How you doing? You gonna speak to this? Okay. How you doing? Okay. Good.
Councilman, how you doing?
Our next committee meeting for the day is the Health and Social Services Committee. Those committee members are Amobian, Freeman, Baylor, Neal, and Holland. We do have all committee members except for Freeman. Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The Health and Social Services Committee is meeting. Health and Social Services Committee is meeting. No. Nancy. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. The meeting is called to order. We haven't met for a long time, but I'd like to have approval of the minutes from the last meeting we had. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve previous minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The minutes from the previous meeting have been recommended for approval. May I have a motion? Approval?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Once I get it together, one abstention. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the abstention. Holland, thank you.
We have one piece before us today. Ordinance 2021, authorizing the mayor to accept and expend grant funding from the National League of Cities Equitable Economic Mobility Initiative grant in furtherance of the mayor's full-term first birthday initiative and declaring an emergency. And we have Ms. Tamika Rose and Shalita. Did you want to come up, Shalita? Please. Shalita is from the Summit County Health Department. So I'm assuming you're going to talk about this and give us an update on the programming and all the wonderful stuff you've been doing with the first term program. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Amobi and council members. So we applied for the grant, the National League of Cities grant for the Equitable Economic Mobility Initiative. And what this grant does, it allows us to form a workforce development grant for our moms. What we found out through our work around the social determinants of health for the mothers that we serve through full-term first birthday is that some of the moms don't have the actual skill sets to obtain a livable wage job. And so this program will go into doing that. And I'm gonna turn it over to Shalita because she's the one that wrote the initial grant to the Department of Medicaid for the funding for this program. And then we wrote this grant to fill the gaps that Medicaid was unable to provide funding for.
Thank you, Tamika, and good afternoon, everyone. So Summit County Public Health and Full-Time First Birthday has been in collaboration with the state to work on reducing our infant mortality rate. And with that, about 3 years ago, a program was established which is called a Neighborhood Navigator program, where we screen pregnant women in Summit County who are in need of various resources focusing on social determinants of health. With that program, we've been screening around 320 women every single year, and we've been getting really significant and interesting data about the social determinants of health needs in our community. And we've been using that as the driver of all of the resources and grant initiatives that we've been seeking. So I just wanted to give you guys some numbers. In fiscal year 20, which was what we consider last year, because our fiscal years run from it would have been October of 2019 until September of 2020. 59% of our moms that were pregnant indicated that they were in some type of housing insecurity. So 59% of the 320-ish women that we screened said that they had some type of housing insecurity. In fiscal year 2021, which we're currently still in, but we've already screened 237 women, which is really exciting considering we still have a whole quarter left. It's been indicated that 46.6% of them have indicated some type of housing insecurity. Full-Term First Birthday has been really fortunate of receiving some grant funding as well as some private funding from other sources to do some work around housing. So we've been able to secure a fund with United Way, and that fund has been great, except what we found out from United Way is that although we were paying or supplementing rent for a couple months, there was still a huge unemployment need. So it sparked Tamika and I's interest. So we went back to the data that we originally looked at, and in that data, we found that, I don't have 2020's number, I forgot it, but for this year, 49% of the women who were screened, which is the 237 that I originally indicated, indicated that they had some type of employment issue. So that doesn't mean that they were fully unemployed, but they could have been in between jobs, or they could have been in an instance where they don't feel like their job was financially sustainable enough to carry themselves and their family. So this is just a small look at what needs to happen in our community, and we're excited to work with the Well Community Development Corporation because they have been a huge asset in this community, and they also garnered all the people to collaborate to create this network, and we're hoping that we can get stable jobs for the women in our community and help sustain their families.
So this grant, from the National League of Cities is for $100,000. The first $20,000 is for planning, which we've already started, but we will be doing more planning with the Well. And it will also pay for incentives for the moms. And so those incentives include childcare, transportation, a $200 gift card for the completion of the program, of the training. And we also provide them with work clothing and interviewing skills as well. So that is what this program, we're doing a holistic view around this because we knew that housing was the key, but if you can't find a job to maintain your housing, the work that we were doing prior was for naught. And so we wanted to give them a complete wraparound services for this.
Well, kudos to you for the numbers. I mean, just the mere fact that you got 300 women and then you got 200 some this year, I mean, that in and of itself is quite impressive. And to look at the total, comprehensive approach to what they need is just fantastic what you ladies are doing. I've been to the birthday, what was it called? At over there in South Akron on Lake Shore, when you had the birthday
Yeah,
party?
we had our first birthday party. We're going to
It
have
was a
another
shout-
one this
okay,
year.
Yeah, I was there when you had that. But I'm just quite impressed. It's very good to hear numbers and to hear the kind of work you're doing that would get at helping these women become self-sufficient, and I think that's really critical. I'm sure there are other questions and comments from other members of the committee. Go ahead, Mrs. Highland.
I'd like to chime in on the appreciation for the numbers. That really shows the focused effort. I'm interested in the employment issue and whether within that concise category you've looked at childcare as being sort of, you know, part of the employment issue, or does it come as a separate factor? How are you looking at that?
It's a person-by-person situation. So one of the unique things about the program that we're trying to develop is that we realize that there's different interests within the women, so we're trying to be very intentional of giving them a wide variety of employment opportunities. So the Well has worked with SUMA, they've worked with Amazon, they've worked with smaller companies to, at the end, if you complete the entire program, you are guaranteed a job interview. You're not guaranteed a job, but you are guaranteed an interview. And along with that, you are also offered a mentor to help work with you once you hopefully obtain that job, to help you get through the hurdles of what you initially have. We're working through some other grant funding that we wrote for and we're hoping that we get to secure at least 1 month of childcare and transportation following the opportunity of getting that job. Also, we are in contact with Jobs and Family Services to see what other additional services they can be lended, because we understand that childcare is extremely expensive, and having stable, independent, and as far as reliable from a mental and behavioral point of view, childcare is very taxing on an individual. So you bring up very, very good points. We're looking into those, but I can't say it's a universal issue. It's more of a case by case.
Thanks for that. That's helpful background. Statistically, right now, a lot of different research organizations are looking at what's being described as a mass exodus of mothers from the workforce. And it's not, you know, it's not some sunshine and unicorns scenario at all. You know, this is about having a sense of confidence that your children are in good hands.
Absolutely.
So
And
glad to know you're looking at all of it.
Absolutely. And I will say that today I had a meeting with the Well, and Tamika was also present. And one of the things that we talked about after getting off the phone with Tamika was about the benefit cliff, and making sure we're keeping that in our conversation. So the Well actually is being proactive. They're working with a company in New York to do a calculator to identify what needs to happen, what they need to plan for if they were able to obtain a job that's $15 to $17 an hour due to their household size. So we're trying to be proactive in all the things that we do. And Jobs and Family Services is also looking at the benefit cliff and how we can be proactive in making sure that our families aren't suffering.
Fantastic. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Councilman Neal, and then
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Baylor.
Couple questions. One, I know that when we talk about infant mortality, it is not restricted to socioeconomic factors. A lot of what we hear, it sounds like it's socioeconomic. So do we have any way of determining women who are upwardly mobile, economically mobile, and whatnot, are thinking that this isn't for them? I mean, are we able to tell numbers that way, that we possibly could be missing a population that suffer from infant mortality because they may think that this is for lack of a better term, a welfare program?
Right. So unfortunately, no. So when we look at infant mortality, we know that stress is a huge indicator of that, and as well as healthcare access and treatment in the healthcare system, and it's something that we're continuously researching. Research and data has shown us that even a African American woman with a master's degree has a greater chance of having a preterm birth than a white woman who doesn't even have a high school education. So there's a lot of work to do in that sector, and we all take that back to the 400 years of oppression that's happened through slavery and all the things that's happening in this world. So we are doing our best to figure out, to make sure that the community as a whole does not see this program as a welfare program. And we also talked with the Well today about how we can hopefully obtain other funding to make sure that this program is for all. So we're looking for ways to engage women of all economic backgrounds to make sure that they have the resources needed to sustain their family. Because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. Because we know that stress that comes with not knowing how you're going to keep a roof over your head, how you're not going to put food on the table, and how you're not going to take care of your kids. So I thank you for bringing that up. That is one of our top priorities. And also, just so everyone knows that everything we do for full-term first birthday, we do for all women. It's just sometimes a little bit more difficult due to some of the things that are going on in this state and how funding is allocated to supply funds for all.
I still have some more questions, Madam Chair, but this is to my colleagues that are of sororities. Is this still a high priority in your organizations, or are they talking about? Because I mean, the sororities are ones who can champion this in our community. So that's just a thought, because yeah, I remember when you first brought this, and everybody thinks, oh, it's because teens or whatnot, but no. So I would like to see us as a community keep this on the forefront. The other thing is,
Councilman Neal, can I interject for 1 second?
Yes,
I just wanted to add, I am on the governor's task force for eliminating racial disparities in infant mortality, and we are on that task force. We are looking at the wide range. We're not just looking at the Medicaid population. And since I've come to this role, I've very actively spoken to the hospitals about taking this to the next level and not just looking at it as the African-American women or women that are on Medicaid, right? I've always talked about those that are right at that cusp of over 200%. So we've always talked about the benefit cliff, and we are talking about making sure that racial biases are addressed in the hospitals as well. So we don't just speak to just that, but we do see in the data, and maybe we should have brought in Dee Dee, in the data that we know that the women that in Summit County that have lost their babies due to unsafe sleep, some of them have a lot of stress in their lives, and it deals with housing and unstable housing, unstable workforce. And so we want to help these women. We also understand that grief comes along with having miscarriages. And so we take all of that to account in our meetings with full-term first birthday.
And I'm glad you said that, because I know I would like to talk to you afterwards. So I would like to know what's the demographic just in my ward to make sure that we have proper mental health support groups. Because I know that's a lifelong situation that we've been dealing with. The other thing is, this is something the council can address through our, when we look at what we want to do with the American Rescue Plan dollars on how to support this. But the last thing I want to say with some of these incentives that are coming through the government, like the child tax credit that's coming, and ARP dollars, this is what I meant when I said council, because there's a focus understanding that child care is essential, as you mentioned, and underwriting that cost and making sure that our child care centers are connected to the resources and the dollars that are coming into them, and coordinating them, lobbying on their behalf. I had a conversation because of the work that I'm in, I service a lot of them, and they wanted to know, well, who's their voice? Who's their advocate? And we've got to make sure that small businesses, anybody that can get these American Rescue Plan dollars that aren't actually even coming from our dollars, have all the support to get them, and then make sure that we connect them with the family. So I look forward to getting that information specific to my ward and then talking to you to connect them with you so that we can make sure that they take advantage of everything that's out there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Baylor.
I just wanted to join in with Councilwoman Amobian, saying what a good job you guys are doing with the numbers and with looking at the right things that affect the lives of these women. to try to ensure that you can promote more success as you move through it. And I'm just in awe of you, young lady. I'm looking, I'm like, this young lady, I'm so proud that you are a part of this, you know, and with the assistance of Tamika. And you guys you're on the right path, so just keep up the good work, and I'm sure, thank you for the WELL and your support, and all the other organizations. And I really appreciate Councilman Neal's comments too, being a male part, you know, to be interested and caring about these women as well in his ward. So just thank you, and just keep up the good work, and I'm sure that we'll see more positive things coming out of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other members of the committee with questions or comments? Seeing none, are there other council members who would like to speak to this? I don't know, did you come prepared to talk about something, Mr. Cole?
Not necessarily, just that we've had conversations, we're support. Kelly can probably give a lot more detail behind the support and
If you,
how excited we are.
if you'd like to go to the mic, Kelly.
I think, yeah, just like Zach was saying, we're excited to be able to contribute positively to this work. I mean, the work that Shalita and Tamika have been doing to address infant mortality is obviously very important. And it affects the people in the Middlebury community that we primarily devote to and beyond. And so I think the workforce work that we're really trying to build is kind of taking that mental health piece into account, is really trying to see, like, how can long-term we support these women and other individuals moving toward stability, acknowledging that housing is a huge piece of that. But if we don't think about workforce development and really try to, like, come together and create real solutions, then it's not going to matter. So yeah, I think we're just excited to be a part of it, and think that we'll be able to do something good.
Thank you very much. I'm just really excited. I remember when we started this program, so it's just really, really good to hear of all the partnerships and what you're doing.
Thank you.
The other thing, as we talk about child care, we have a lot of women and others that are coming down here who are doing a lot of child care services in their homes. I don't know if you have a register or a registry or whatever. We need to have some way of making sure that we can identify those. Yeah, because you know, those are critical, because many of them are open 24/7, and you know, it's just amazing that we can pull all these things together.
What I can say is 211 is our intake, so anyone that wants to, that has a baby or is expecting a child can call 211, and they will link them to full-term first birthday and all of the services that we provide.
All right. Another organization, I was just talking with the CEO of EANDAC, Cheryl Stevens, the other day, and she just got the last piece of part of her comprehensive package that she's doing with I Promise, and it has a lot to do with servicing mothers who are trying to find jobs and, you know, get stable housing, and it's just really nice. I hope all these programs are collaborating and discussing what you're doing, because you can certainly use the resources, and it's amazing. And thank you so very much. I believe that this is, your pleasure is...
we can do consent, but if you want to do emergency, that would be great too.
We're
We're trying to get the money out.
We're prepared to do whatever you want, particularly with the results that you're talking about today. So may I have a motion of approval with emergency?
Second.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. So you can move ahead after tonight.
Thank you
I guess
so
we have the
much.
full council to vote tonight. But thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else to come before the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you so very much.
This is the final committee meeting for the day. Council will meet at 7 p.m. tonight.